Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. My name is Don Daniel, founder of P.I.L.L Method International, a better way to eliminate debt. And what we're doing today is talking about how in the world can we pay off your church? How can your church pay off the mortgage in 5 to 7 years without extra giving from the members? I mean, no more pledge cards, no more sacrifice. So listen, sacrifice, sacrifice, sacrifice. Let's get this building paid off. There is a way to do it with regular giving from the church. So I need to get some more people in here, spread the news, get everybody in here, share this on Clubhouse, share this on YouTube, share this on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Get the people in here right now. This is going to be groundbreaking information, and we will not start until we have an adequate audience in here to do just that. So I'm going to just start out by saying good morning to everybody. Good morning. And let me see here. Let me go to the comments and say good morning to the folks. And wherever you're from, say good morning and tell us where you're from. All right, there we go. Good morning to you guys. All right, we got some people here already from let's see, from Clubhouse. We've got some folks from YouTube, probably Facebook. Look, Facebook. We got somebody here from Facebook. All right. So come on, everybody. Let's go ahead and say good morning and tell us where you're from and start inviting some people in so that they can get information that they could certainly use. If your church has a mortgage, it can be paid off in about 5 years. So let's get some people in. Let me start by inviting some folks in here from Clubhouse. We have to grow our audience here. All right. Let's see if we can get some people in. All right. Boom. We're going to get some people in here. Start inviting them. There we go. All right. All right. Get some people in. There we go. All right. So let's see. So let's get, all right. Now, if you have any questions from any previous shows, go ahead and put your questions in the comment section right now. Go ahead and put your questions in the comment section right now. Some of you may have even been on our broadcast last night with Living Manna Online Church. Some of you may be here. If you are here this morning and you were on last night, please put something in the comment section right now so I can say good morning to you, because I said good night to you last night. Okay. All right. Come on in. Let's get the show started. Let's get this information out there. All right. So let's get a few more people in the room. All right. Listen, we're building up. We are building up. So let me go ahead and see if we can get a few more people in and start the information, because see, this is information you do not want to start halfway in on. All right. You really do want to be able to get this information from beginning to end. So let me go ahead and continue to invite some people in. All right. There we go. Okay, we're still inviting. There are. All right. There we go. All right. So good morning, everybody. I'm going to put something on the screen right now. All right. I think we have enough to go ahead and get started. Okay, we have enough people go ahead and get started. All right, so keep on inviting. Keep on inviting. All right, we're about 7 minutes into the show. So right now we're going to put on the screen. All right, there we go. I have to change. We got to change up our look here. There we go. Boom, there it is. All right, on the screen now, we have a $2 million mortgage. Let me tell you what some of the churches are doing right now because of interest costs. Because they can get in the way of being able to manage your debt efficiently. So what some churches are doing, they will raise the funds and try to pay for it cash. Now, I know of some churches that have been in the fundraising for years. For years, they've been in fundraising for years. And when you're in fundraising for years, yes, you're getting closer to your fundraising goal. But guess what else is happening while you're working on getting those funds together? What's happening when you're getting those funds together? What's happening is this. The materials are getting more expensive. The labor is getting more expensive. The architects are getting more expensive. Just building the church itself is getting more and more expensive. And so you want to be careful not let the expenses that are constantly growing and constantly becoming more and more will outrun your ability to save the money to get the church. Let's see about what could happen if you could take the money that you already have now and start the process and borrow money and see how that could work for you. Now, if you could borrow the money, what if you could borrow the money at 0% interest? If you could borrow the money at 0% interest, then would there be any ill effect on the church itself in most cases? If you could borrow the money at 0% interest, and because listen, if what you're doing, let me see here. I've got some comments here. Good morning. All right, Miss Ross Jones. Good morning to you from Facebook. Thank you for being here this morning. All right, come on, spread the word so that people can know that their church mortgage can be eliminated in 5 to 7 years without extra giving from the members. We're going to get into that. But the reason why we want, hey, William, all right, good to see you. The reason why we need to understand, okay, yes, please share this with everybody. Share this with everybody, Ms. Ross Jones. What you need to know is this. While you're waiting to save the money, you're saving the money and your church building is getting more and more and more expensive. So borrow the money. And what I'm proposing is if you could borrow the money at 0% interest, would that be helpful? Because your finance committee, the committee that you've put together to make sure that the church's resources can actually make the payment, that's already in place. Okay, that's already in place. So with prayer and your faith, we can get this done. So listen, so now we're talking about, I've got a church. We want to get started. We want to get started now. It's very hard for us to save up all the money. We've been looking at saving it up for years and we're not getting there. The prices are running away from our ability to save the money. So what do we have now? What can we use to get the church building now? Now, some of you already have a mortgage. So here's what we're saying. If you can't borrow the money at 0% interest, then the next best thing is whatever your interest rate is, let's see about getting your mortgage at a discount. What? The interest that the bank wants to charge you is a suggestion. Uh-oh. What did he just say? The interest that the bank wants to charge you on your loan is suggested. It is not mandatory that you pay it. All right. So what did you say, Ms. Ross? She says here, my pleasure sharing with pastors and deacons. They need to hear this information. Let's see. I have been sharing the P.I.L.L method and you, the amazing Don Daniel, with them. Thank you so much. Thank you. So we're going to put that on the screen. Thank you, Dr. Francesca. We appreciate you. Now, here's what I have on the screen. I have a $2 million mortgage on the screen right now. And let me get the link for those that are coming into Clubhouse. I'm going to put the link. I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the chat in Clubhouse so that people will be able to see what's going on their screen. So let's see, we're going to share that, copy the link. There we go. And put that in the chat. Boom. All right. We're putting that in the chat. All right. And we're going to send that out. There we are. So if you want to see this on a YouTube, all you folks from Clubhouse, then go there on a secondary device so that you're able to see it. I'm also going to pin my link to the top. ICE 10K. That stands for Interest Cancellation Expert. ICE10K.com. There we are. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. We're at the top of the page. Okay. So here's what we have. All right. $10 million. I'm sorry. $2 million mortgage. The payment on that is $12,886.03 a month. Okay. So let's just say that this particular church can well afford the payment. So whatever we're doing, okay, whatever we're talking about, the caveat is that whatever I'm putting on the screen, the church is well able to do it, or whatever your mortgage is, there is a way to pay a lot less interest. So whatever the mortgage is, it doesn't have to be 2 million. It could be $1 million. It could be 750,000. It could be $500,000. Whatever your mortgage is, the amount of interest that you pay, you have control over. Don't worry so much about your interest rate. Start paying attention to interest cost and what you can do about it. Okay? So let me show you here what the bank wants on this loan. Okay? Here's what the bank wants. The bank wants $1,865,809 interest on this $2 million loan. Now, it's not a 30-year loan, it's a 25-year loan. Okay, it's 300 payments. But in that time, they want $1,865,809 on a $2 million loan. Now, how in the world is that 5%? That's almost as much as you borrowed. This is why people don't like borrowing money, because they think they have to pay that money. They think they have to pay that. And you don't. All right. So if we were to take a look at how this breaks down, okay, we have 6% here. Okay. And now the payment on this breaks down like this. Out of the $12,886.03, the very first payment, this much pays down your loan. $2,886.03. Look at that first interest payment. $10,000. $10,000. My question to you is, if this is a church and these folks are faithful and faith-based, that $10,000 in interest, whose money is that? That $10,000 that just went to interest, whose money is that? If we are stewards of the resources that God gives us, whose money is that? And do we have to send it out like that? Can I give you just one example here so that we can build on this? Now, in the P.I.L.L method program, it stands for prepayment of principal, isolating the principal amount, leverage, and liquidity. With the P.I.L.L method program, we actually have a cloud-based AI computing system that tells us exactly what to do with the church's resources after all the bills are paid, how you can save interest by prepaying certain amounts of money. Now, it's not just any amount of money. What you're prepaying is the least amount that you possibly can pay at a particular time so that you can save the maximum amount of interest per dollar applied. That is the gold standard. Okay? And because I don't have all of the information about a church's finances right here, I'm just giving you some basic ideas. I am not explaining to you the P.I.L.L method. I'm explaining to you interest cancellation, which is a big difference. The program itself, the P.I.L.L method program, is so that you can optimize your interest savings. Okay? So let me give you an idea of what you can save if you do this right. We're making the very first payment on this mortgage for the church. And next month's principal payment is $2,946. Now, what if the church has a reserve fund for emergencies? All right? If the church has a reserve fund, this is just one way to understand this. The church has a reserve fund for emergencies. And for the most part, those funds are never touched unless there is an emergency. And where do those funds sit until they're needed? Those funds sit in a bank and preferably in a savings account making 1/10 of 1%, 1/10 of 1%. Not a whole lot of money. If they happen to be in a money market, maybe they can get 2 or 3%. Okay. But I want to show you how, if you are placed in stewardship over God's money at your particular church, how you can take that money and do something else with it. Can I give you just one example? And then we'll get into more. I see more people coming in to watching us online. I see. Thank you for being here, Indira. Start inviting some other folks in so that we can get some folks in here on Clubhouse. I know this is probably not the most popular, okay, most popular subject, how to pay off a church, okay? But listen, some people think church is important and some people don't, but that's okay. So let me show you what we got here. We made our very first payment here, right? And the principal payment for next month is $2,900.46. Here's my question. If we have a reserve fund, let's say this particular church has a reserve fund of, I don't know, $50,000. They've got $50,000 in reserve. Okay, they do very well with tithe and offering. All right, they got 50 grand in reserve. And what if somebody says, you know what? What if we take $2,900 out of the reserve fund? That still leaves us a lot of money. If we make our first payment on the mortgage, take $2,900 out of reserve, all right, and Prepay that. I mean, give it to the bank in the same month we make that payment. All right. This $2,900 goes straight to principal, and we're paid down to line 2 on the principal balance of the mortgage. That $2,900 pays down the principal. All of that money goes to principal, all of it. Okay. What just happened? Can I explain to you what just happened? Let's say the first payment is made in January, and we took February's principal payment of $2,900.46 and gave that to the bank as well. But we didn't get it from asking the members to give more. We got it out of the reserve fund. Okay. Now remember, if it's coming out of the reserve fund, how did we get the reserve fund? There's a certain amount of the funds that come into the church monthly that is designated in the budget to go into reserve every single month. That's how it gets built up. Okay. So if we use any funds out of reserve, we have to replace those funds. I want to make that abundantly clear. I don't want somebody to take a clip from this and says, Don says, drain your reserve fund to pay off your mortgage. No, Don is not saying that. What Don is saying is that any monies that you get out of reserve to prepay on the mortgage have to be replaced before you do it again. Does that make sense, everybody? Does that make sense? Okay. Here's where we're going. So we're going to take that $2,900. We're going to put it on the mortgage and get paid down to line 2. If we do that, your next mortgage payment on this church is on line 3 of your amortization schedule. The payment for March actually moves up one. What just happened? We just totally eliminated one monthly payment from your amortization schedule for your church. And this $2,900 prepaid prevented the bank from charging you the $9,985.57 in interest they wanted to charge you. Your overall interest cost that I pointed out at the beginning of $1,865,809 has just been reduced by $9,985.75 they will not get. That's $9,900 of God's money that can go into ministry instead of paying interest. What do you say? Can I get an amen on that? All right. So that's just one example. That's just one example. Look, can we take it a little bit further? I want to talk about, let's say, if we had a little bit more money in reserve, and here is our backdrop on this. $100,000 in reserve, and I'm just giving you an example. Our program doesn't work like this. Our program is very specific, and it takes into account what your expenses are at the church every single month. And as your expenses change with our program, your instructions will change along with the expenses. Okay? I want to make that abundantly clear. This is just an example so you can understand the power of prepayment and how you can use the funds that are already at the church, sitting in the bank, making very little money. So let me do just a little bit of math here. I'm going to put, let me do just a little bit of math. I'm going to put a calculator on the screen. Can we do that? Okay. So we're going to put a calculator on the screen. There it is. We just prepaid $2,900.46 and saved $9,985.57 in interest we never have to pay the bank. All right. Now, let me talk to you about return on investment. let me talk to you about the parable of the talents and investing your money and getting a return on your money. You see, there's more than one way to get a return. You can get a return if you're in the church world, if you're in business or whatever. You can increase your profits. You can increase how much money you have to do other things with by increasing the giving at the church, getting new members in. That's one way to increase the amount of money you have to put into your ministry. That's one way. Another way is to lower expenses. If you can lower expenses, doesn't that also give you more money to put into ministry? That's a yes or a no, ladies and gentlemen. Can I get a yes or a no? All right. Can we do that? All right. And so Paul asks a question here. Paul asks a question, says, do you have to say to the bank, these extra funds in this month's payment are a prepayment on next month's principal? Or will they just, let's see, and Anselm Paul, I'm butchering your name. I'm so sorry. Mr. Paul. Let's do that. I can read that. It will automatically go to principal, because when it comes to church mortgages, generally they don't put together what's called an escrow account for you. Your taxes and insurance aren't usually a part of the payment for a church, usually. Okay. And when there is an escrow account for most banks, when you add your principal and interest to your payment, like for your house, then when you add extra money and you don't tell them what to do with it, they will their default is to put that money in the escrow account. That's what their default is. But if there is no escrow account, Mr. Paul, there's only one place it can go. It has to go to principal. It has to go to principal. And that is the way your mortgage is constructed. All right. It says there is on the mortgage note page, it says when you prepay, you have a right to do this. And when you prepay, here's what it says in your document. All the money used for prepayment is used to reduce the balance on the mortgage. It has to go there. It's in writing. All right. And it's your right to do. You don't even have to ask for permission. All right. So for most churches, that's how it works. So we're going to take that $2,900. So to figure ROI, what you have to do is, okay, what is your benefit from the investment? Our benefit from this investment is $9,985.57 we do not have to pay. Okay, so if that's our benefit, then what did we invest out of our reserve fund to accomplish these savings? All right, it was $2,900.46. So what we do is divide by $2,900.46. Boom, it's right there. Now, when you get that answer, then you multiply the answer by 100. So even if you Google how to figure ROI, this is what happens. How much did you make or save? What was your benefit divided by what you invested, and then multiply that by 100. Okay. So now we're going to divide that, and that equals here, and then we divide it by, and then we multiply it by 100. Here we go. 344%. 344% return on your money. Oh my goodness. I absolutely love the parable of the talents. I love the parable of the talents, but do you know what I like most? I like the very end. I like the very end that says, he that has gets more, he that has not loses that which he has. We need to be good stewards of God's money. We need to be good stewards of God's money. And to do that, we need better education than we have received in the past. We have received absolutely no education on how these mortgages actually work. And with the education, oh my goodness, we can get such great discounts on the mortgage cost of managing it, because we now know the rules to the game. The reason why, listen, if you get some pushback from your accountant in the church, if you get some pushback from your banker that's a member of your church, if you get some pushback from the CPA that's a member of the church that's on the finance committee, I guarantee you they were not taught how an amortization schedule actually works. If they learned anything at all, they learned how to create an amortization schedule. They did not learn how to defeat an amortization schedule. Oh my goodness, so true. So who's this, Karen? Karen says, so true, so true. Come on, Karen, let's put that on the screen. So true. With no vision, the people perish. With no vision, the people perish. And we need that vision. We need that vision. And why do we need, listen, why do we need to get that? Why are we here with the P.I.L.L method? So people can know how to read an amortization schedule and how you can make it work for you. All right? How you can make it work for you. You all know that if you pay extra on the mortgage for your church, you're paying it off faster and cheaper. What you don't know is when you pay that extra money to the church, you don't know what happens. I'm explaining to you what actually happens when the bank receives extra money. And this is what happens. Let me tell you what doesn't happen. What you don't get is a notice from your bank that says, thank you very much. Your extra payment has been received. Here is how much interest you just saved. And here is how much time you've taken off your mortgage. So you're going to be in this mortgage for less than 25 years now. And by doing that, here's how much less. You don't get any of that. There's no receipt that says, here's your interest savings, because if you got, listen, your church treasurer would jump up and down, all right, and probably interrupt the service and say, Pastor, we just got a receipt from the bank. You know that $2,900 that we prepaid to the mortgage? It saved the church $9,985.75. Stop the service. Let's go into business session right now to see how we can save more of God's money. Don't get me started. Don't get me started today. Okay. So let me give you another idea of what's going on here. Okay. Let's just say we've got $100,000 in reserve. $100,000 in reserve. And what if do you think if we have 100,000 in reserve, and how much is going into the reserve account each month? Let's say it's $5,000 going into the reserve account each month. So we get tithe and offering, we pay the bills, okay, and then we put out of that money that comes in, we're putting approximately $5,000 a month in reserve. You follow me? Okay. Now I need you to take a look at this this amortization schedule. The reason why more people don't understand what's going on with their mortgages is because we don't understand what happens when you add up the principal payments and you add up the interest payments for even just 1 year. If you knew that, it would be scary until you receive some training from the P.I.L.L method. It would be scary. Okay. So in 1 year, here's what the bank wants. In 1 year, on your $2 million mortgage, you will pay this loan down by $35,600. Congratulations. But here's what the bank receives: $119,031.56 of God's money just going to interest. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. $119,031.56 in interest. What would happen? What would happen? So remember, we got $100,000 in reserve. This is just an example. Again, if somebody comes in late, I am not prescribing this because our program directs you exactly what to do and when to do it. This is just giving you an idea of what could happen when you prepay. So let's just say we're going to take $35,000 out of the reserve fund. We got 100,000. We got 35. Let's put it on the screen. Okay, got 100,000. We're going to subtract 35,000. Okay, from the reserve fund. That leaves us $65,000 in reserve. Okay, so if we take $35,000 out, let's put that on the side. I just need to ask this one question. Next month, if we're putting $5,000 in from tithe and offering, we're putting approximately $5,000 into reserve. Next month, will we put $5,000 in here, and will we be back to $70,000? Yeah. And the next month, we'll be back at $75,000. Yes, we will. Okay. I just want you to keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. Don't get the idea that we're going to deplete the reserve fund. We can't. We don't want to do that. We don't need to do that. We know what the numbers are. We know how we're bringing the money in. So we have $35,000. Okay. What if we made our mortgage payment? And then paid an additional $35,000 to the mortgage? Would we be paid down to right here in 1 month? Let's do the math. Let's do the math. And now I'm kind of rounding things off here. Okay, I'm kind of rounding them off. But we have a mortgage of $2 million. Okay, we got a mortgage of $2 million. Yep, and we're going to we'll pay it down in 1 year by $35,600.80. So we're going to subtract $35,600.80 equals $1,964,339.20. That's exactly what you see here on line 12. So are you telling me if we take $35,000 out of the reserve fund and give it to the bank, we can knock off 1 year of payments off this mortgage? And what happens to all the interest payments between line 2 and line 12? Do you mean we don't have to give the bank $119,000 in interest to do this, but we could actually pay it down to here with just $10,000 interest, not $119,000 interest? That's exactly what's going on here. We can get the same benefit from that money, but we don't have to pay the enormous cost. You see, we just saved over $100,000 of God's money, and we're still paying down the church, and the members haven't given an extra dime. How about that? How about that? Okay, so Paul, Mr. Paul says, my church has started. It says my church just started doing this last month on an 800K loan with with 22 months and approximately $77,000 left. Would it be would would it says would have been great if we had started from the beginning. You're right. You would have saved way more interest. There's not a lot of interest left on this loan. Okay? Not a lot of interest left on this loan. But you're right. But guess what? For your next building project, for your next loan, whatever you decide to do, and leveraging the bank's money, listen, some people think it's bad to borrow money. It's only bad to borrow money if you don't know what to do with it. If you don't know how to pay it back at a discount. Okay. So here's what we're talking about, folks. If we take this $35,000 and apply it to the loan and save over $100,000, guess what? If we make our payment here on the very first payment, give the bank the $35,000 all at once, we're paid down to line 12 in January, and our next mortgage payment on this church mortgage is on line 13 of your schedule. That is the very next payment next month. That's February's new payment if you do this. What just happened? We took $35,000 out of a bank account that's making 0.1%. We applied it to the loan and saved over $100,000 in interest. Let's do the math. Okay, what is our return on investment? Okay, $119,031.56. Boom. What did we we're going to prepay $35,600. So we're going to divide it by $35,600.80 equals this, and then we multiply that by 100. This is our return on investment. 334% return on investment. 334%. Where else can you take $35,000 invested and get $100,000 off of it in just 1 year? Where else? Where else can you do that? You're talking now, listen, you're talking big time, huge stewardship now. We're taking stewardship to a whole new level. So Paul says, so how would it not make sense to get a second loan for $35K to save the $100K? Paul, now you're talking arbitrage. Okay. So here's the thing. You know where Paul is going here. I'll tell you where he's going. If you can borrow the money, right? You borrow the money and you have but it's all predicated on the ability to pay it back. Okay. You have to be able to pay it back. You can borrow the money, but what I'm saying, Paul, is that you're borrowing it from yourself. If you have it in reserve, borrow it from yourself. That works best. But if you wanted to borrow from the bank, then you would just have to figure out, what is it going to cost me to borrow this money from the bank? And then when you figure out the cost of borrowing it, so because you have to pay it back, so the time frame in which we pay that back, how much is it going to cost me in interest to pay that? And then you say, okay, then what are we going to save by using that money? We save $119,000, okay? But if we have that $35,000, even at 10% interest, okay? Even at 10% interest in the first year, it costs us what? $3,500? It costs $3,500. If we have that money for every year, it's like $3,500 to save $100,000 in interest. Paul, is that where you're going with this? Does it make sense? Yes, it can make sense to borrow the money. It can get complicated though. So, but you have to be very careful in doing that. Have to be very careful in doing that. Miss Coffee Brown. Miss Coffee Brown is in the house. Let's invite her up. Okay. Miss Coffee Brown, I see you in here. Come on over to the stage.
Morning, Don.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Don.
Good morning. How are you? Can you hear me? Hello? Coffee, can you hear me? Hello? Are you guys hearing me on Clubhouse? Can you guys hear me on Clubhouse? Put something in the chat if you can hear me on Clubhouse. If you can hear me, say yes in Clubhouse so I can tell. Because right now, I'm not sure people can hear me. Uh-oh. I'm not getting anything. Let me put something in the chat. Can you hear me? There we go. Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Kay Walker. Good morning. I just want to make sure you all can hear me. I don't know. Coffee couldn't hear me. All right. Go out and come back in, Coffee. So somebody put it in the chat. Tell Coffee to go out and come back in so she can fix that glitch. All right. So as long as you guys can hear me. All right, great. So yeah, Paul says something like that. Something like that. Yes. If the cost of the money, you can't, so it's not so important that you're looking, Paul, at the interest rate. What you're looking at is what is it going to cost me to leverage somebody else's money so that I can save money over here on this particular loan and pay that back. All right. But if you have the cash, it's better to borrow it from yourself. So here's what I'm saying. If we take $35,000 from the reserve fund, how much are we putting back into the reserve fund monthly? We're putting $5,000 back into the reserve fund monthly. Okay? We're putting $5,000 back. So if we took $35,000 out, how long will it take us to replace our $35,000 if we're putting in $5,000 a month? Somebody tell me, how long will it take to put that money back in the reserve fund if we're putting in about $5,000 a month? Can somebody tell me? I'm looking in the chat. I'm looking online. Okay. 7 months. Okay. 7 times 5 is 35. It would take us 7 months. So here's what it would look like, KK Middleton. Thank you very much for your answer. Here's what it would look like. I take $35,000 out. Boom. From the reserve fund. I apply it to this mortgage. I knock off a year's worth of payments and save over $100,000 in interest of God's money that's not going to the banks. Okay. And then for the next 7 months, we just make regular payments on the mortgage. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In 7 months, we've replenished our fund. Could we now take another $35,000 out and knock off 12 more months? Okay. So 35,000, take another 35,000 out and we'll knock off about another year off of this thing. And so that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That would take us down to about here. Okay. About that. All right. That would take. And so in 8 months, we've done enough work that would account for 2.5 years worth of mortgage payments in 8 months. And normally in In 31 months, we would have only paid the church down by $96,000, but it will cost us $302,000 in interest to do that. But we're here in not in 31 months, but we're here in 8 months. Oh my goodness. And we paid a lot less interest to get here. A lot less. So in the first year, we paid $10,000. Okay, we paid $10,000, and then we paid 7 months worth of. Let's see. I'm just going to round that. Let me just round this off. Okay, so $9,800. 9,800 times 7 equals $68,000. So we paid $68,000, and then we put on another 68,000. We put on then we paid another 35,000. All right, and that took us down to, where did I say it took us down to? All right, so we were here. We did 7 months. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we put on another 35,000, and then that took us down another 12 months. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Boom, and we're here. That's right. 96,000. So we're here about 96,000 in, instead of $302,000 in interest. We get here for approximately $68,000 in interest. Ladies and gentlemen, does that make perfect sense to you once you understand how an amortization schedule actually works? We've been here almost an hour. We've got several people here on Clubhouse. So please come to the stage. I see you, Norman. I see you put your answer in there. Please come to the stage. Coffee, can you hear me yet? Coffee Brown, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I hear you now.
How you doing?
You know how I'm doing, Don. You know how I'm doing. The real question is, what am I doing?
What?
It's not how I'm doing. They've never been able to crack my code. It's what am I doing? Not how, but what.
Exactly. So listen, what do you think about this idea of paying off churches in about 5 years without extra giving from the members?
Interestingly enough, Mother Mo was talking about my overseer, because I am over the pastoral care element of pastors. And we had been having some very intimate conversations in regards to what happened to the church, of course, pertaining to COVID. That the Lord would allow the enemy to infiltrate the church. And it was a strong cause for concern, because she lost every last one of her parishioners. Her church is completely empty. She doesn't have not one soul in her church, not one. The building stands completely empty, and she had an alt against the church. So we can't never take our alts to the world. We have to have council meetings. And so we had a meeting with Bishop Bauman and Roe McLaughlin down in Jacksonville. That's why we had you down, because I'm here in Houston, so you could kind of take a look at what we're doing. And so we wanted to bring the church to you and you to the church, and we didn't know how to do it. So that's why I told them, if just let Don come to Houston, and because I'm in the PR department at the school district. So I said, listen, if Don comes to Houston, he talks to these children. Then once he talks to them and they like what he says, then we can run from there. And the children have been talking about you ever since you've been here, Don.
Really?
They really enjoyed you. Yeah, they've been wearing us out, because they, once they get the wisdom, the knowledge, and the understanding, then the whole world's going to open up to us. Because Jesus said, except you come as a little child. He's talking about how humble and pure they are. They're undefiled. So anyway, fast forward. What I think about the church situation, I am so glad that you brought it up, so that I didn't have to be the one, because they felt like if any idea came from me, basically they felt like, because I know so much about the school district, that I would try to sue them.
Oh,
So we've been in, yeah, it's been a bloody mess. It really has. This whole COVID situation messed up the entire ecosystem of the universe. It wasn't just, the church or the people. It messed up the ecosystem in itself. The whole ecosystem is thrown off. And so Mother Mo, the Holy Spirit showed her all this stuff in her dreams. And she and I had a conversation, and she said, ultimately, the church is responsible for the church. So her little church, because nobody sent. So say for instance, me and you were at church, Don, like
yeah.
the Beyonce concert. Okay.
Okay.
Say for instance, we were at a stadium. Let's use the Jaguar Stadium in Jacksonville, just for the sake of argument.
Okay.
And you were coming down to do an event in the stadium, but we needed a headliner. So that would mean that we would have to pay a football player, a prominent preacher like Joel Osteen, somebody who has wealth and prominence and access. They had to, we'd have to get somebody very, very affluent to sell all the tickets.
Okay.
Then we would get you in there to talk about your part and several other people who people are familiar with to get them to buy into what it is that we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So the challenge with the church is that we have never understood what a buy-in is.
Oh.
So the church should be paying tithes too. Think about it.
Watch out.
That's the code. That's the code that the enemy has used against us since the dawning of man. The church has never paid tithes. That's why the world is messed up now.
Boy, oh boy. Some
Yep. The
novel
church
ideas.
owes money to God. The church owes money to God. And it should have been a big pot. It was a storehouse. That story with Joseph, it is true. They had storehouses. If you ever really tap into it, they built storehouses where they would put grain in there. And Don, they didn't have money. They were just wealthy. So people think money is wealth, and money is not. Money is the tool to pay taxes
Okay.
because we're under Caesar's tutelage, aren't we?
Well,
Give Caesar what Caesar's due.
yes,
That's taxes.
that's right.
So why are we forcing the church to bring all their tithe when it's a requirement and a commandment? We were commanded to do it, not asked. Just like we're commanded to pay our taxes, or the consequence is jail.
Well, the thing is if we do what we're what if we follow the design, we're going to
Correct.
get the benefit
Correct.
of following the
Correct.
design.
Correct. So we have not created a prototype for nonprofit organizations. That's the problem. We need
Okay.
a prototype for nonprofits. And that's where you actually come in. So say for instance, we came to you. Can you do like $1 trillion calculations on your system?
Oh, listen, the numbers are just a number. It doesn't
So
matter.
so hypothetically, if Amazon, the company itself,
Mhm.
paid their tithes, and their tithes was $179 million.
Okay.
They sent it to some big church, let's say the Potter's House in Jacksonville, or the same guy, Bishop Bauman and Roman McLaughlin. That's my pastor. That's why I
Okay.
use him as a reference point.
Okay.
So they gave him $179 million. You go in there and you show him the plan, same plan we always use.
Mm-hmm.
Then he can take that structure and build it according to the principles of the Bible, and then present it to all the pastors to
Mm-hmm.
teach them that you have to pay tithes from your church so that we can take care of all the churches around the world. That way there's never a deficit in the body of Christ. But they will
Oh,
use your system to get the church out of debt. Any debt the church needs to build, that's how your system would come into play.
I got you now. I hear where you're going. I hear where you're
Yeah,
going. In fact,
yeah.
there is a gentleman here that's online right now, Paul, and he's part of an organization that actually works like that. All the churches take the
Uh-huh.
tithe and it goes into the world church.
Correct. Put
Okay.
it right. We create our own world system. So in
Right.
essence, if somebody's hungry, we
Yes.
don't give them money. We give them a card to go to HEB, to the
Hmm.
grocery store. We
Okay.
never give people money. We
Hmm.
give them the resource that they need.
Right.
We don't give them cash because they don't know how to use cash. Think about it. If I'm poor and I get money, I'm going to waste it because I'm poor in my mentality.
Ah, yeah. And that's why we're here.
The poor The poor you will always have. That's a mindset. That's not that's not, it's not real. It's how you think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's a thought process. And once we break the thought, the ignorant thought process, then we come to that space of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Then our eyes are open to say, "Oh, that's why I need to give you $10 million," and then we just sign the money over with no problem. It's easy. You just
Yes.
have to understand how to teach people information like you do.
Okay.
So I'm autistic too, same as you.
Okay.
But they never could figure out what was wrong with me.
Mm.
And I told them I found my superpower, my twin. And they were like, "What are you talking about?" And I said, I can't explain it. I always said I couldn't explain you, but if they would listen to you, they would understand me.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we're like twins. We're like twins.
I didn't know that, Coffee.
I didn't know that either.
Wow.
And
All right.
my gift is in publishing. Your gift is in financial literacy. And that's why we couldn't break Dave Ramsey's code and get him out of that, get him out of here, period. Because that's not a good system that he used. His intent is wonderful, but his system is broken.
Yeah,
It
it
will
is that.
never work.
Mm-hmm.
It will never ever work. Now, like I said, because of his authenticity, that's why God blessed him so much.
Yes.
Because he's authentically interested in helping people to get free. But he only has a portion, and he's never been willing to work with Black people at all.
Mm.
He doesn't like people of color at all. Under no circumstances does he want to work with anybody of color.
I didn't know
Ever.
that. So
That's how he keeps us poor. Because he wants us to stay how we are.
I just brought Just D to the stage. Just D. You raised your hand?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Good, good. How you doing, man? It's been a while. Sure. I don't know. Like recently, like I've been listening to your room for a while now, so I know I did refer somebody to you, and they did call. All right, so they did. I spoke to them like 2 days ago, but I don't think they actually get what your program does. You know what I mean? Because from what they came back and told me, I'm like, oh, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna ask you one more time. Just to explain exactly how your program works.
All right. Well, listen, the program is right now, we need the way the system is set up is that we pay a lot of interest, but we have no idea how much interest. We're not looking at our interest consumption. How much interest are you consuming each month on your loans? Okay. And when you know how much interest you're consuming, then we can do the math so that you can pay back the money that you owe the bank and pay them a lot less interest. Okay. So the whole idea of our program is you pay the bank back their money at a time at which you choose. You're choosing the time, not using their time frame. You pay it back when it makes it impossible for them to charge you interest. And our program guides you like financial GPS. Move this much money in this month on this day of the month. Here's how much interest you save. Just D. Does that help?
Right, but so this is the thing that was confusing a little bit, right? Because the person I'm about already pays a lot, like he double pays on the principal already.
So
You
Just
know,
D, let me ask you something.
right?
Is this person satisfied with what they're doing and how they're doing it?
This is the thing. I mean, they feel like they're paying down their principal,
Just
but
D, I'm
I'm
just
like,
asking a simple question here. Are they satisfied with what they're doing and how they're doing it? That's a
I mean,
yes or
I
no.
would say yes. It's spending on
Okay,
my money.
so then
It's their money.
they're not the person I need to talk to. I only talk to people who are dissatisfied with what they're doing and how they're doing it. I am not here to change anybody's mind. That
No, no,
just takes way too long.
no. The reason I'm asking you this, sometimes people don't understand the way the system works, right? So I think I'm asking for like clarity. See what I'm saying? It's not about like, okay, for instance, right? I mean, the way I explained it to them was that you pay your principal the
Just
next month
the
ahead of
just
time.
the I hear what you're saying. I've been doing this 18 years and I'm going to save you a whole lot of time. A whole lot of time. If the person you're talking to is automatically disagreeing with you and they're satisfied with what they're doing, stop talking. They can't hear you. You are not going to change their mind. I've been doing this 18 years and I have never changed anybody's mind. All I'm looking for is people who are dissatisfied with what they're doing and how they're doing it, and they're looking for a better way. Each one of our clients, every one of our clients for the past 18 years has said something similar to this. We were looking for a better way. We were praying for a better way. We were hoping. We were searching. We were looking online. We're reading books. They're already looking for a better way. Those people who are satisfied with what they're doing, even though they're paying a lot more in interest than they need to, they can't hear me. The Bible says, my sheep hear my voice. And if they're not listening to you, Just D, it is because you need to speak to somebody else. You see, as a firefighter, I was a firefighter for 17 years. And let's just say there's a building on fire, and I've got several people on the second floor, and they're trying to get out, and I've got a ladder. And I'm trying to help them get out. But I go to the first window, and that person does not want to get on my ladder. Am I going to stay there trying to coax them to get on my ladder, or I'm going to move to the next window where people want to get on my ladder to get out? What are we going to do, Just D?
I mean, I get what you're saying, but sometimes, people don't understand how something works. And then, like, you could explain to them a lot better. Like, just
And
like,
Just D,
I'm a professional.
Just D, I'm
Right.
trying to tell you, it doesn't work.
Right. I mean, I'm gonna leave it alone.
Thank you.
Right. So I'm gonna along with the person because I tried to explain to them, and I did call and did use my because on my Instagram and I did say my name to you. I'm like, okay, but I'm like, all right, fine. The program does work. I've listened to it like a few times, and I could judge and sense, but so I'm gonna leave it alone with the person. But I just wanted to get some clarity. That's all.
All right, good. I'm saying, but see, what you're looking for is a better way to explain it to somebody who doesn't want to hear, and there is no better way. And I wish I could give you. I wish I could give you that. I actually looked for it for 18 years and just stopped. Okay, so I've got Karen online. Karen wants to know how to contact us directly. Karen, I gave you the number of the office phone. Just call that number, leave a message for me, and I'll call you back. Okay, all right. I'll call you. I'll call you personally since you asked. All right. Thank you very much. Is there anybody else that wants to come to the stage? You got any other questions about what we're talking about? I want people to understand what we're doing here is understanding how we can pay a lot less money when we choose to do things in a different way. Okay. And if you want something different, you can have something different. Let me see here. Paul, it says a larger segment of the church is starting to agree with him, unfortunately. Oh, Creflo Dollar. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying. Okay. But anyway, folks, listen, folks, when you're outside of a system, and you have an apparent, it appears that you're doing well. Coffee. It appears that you're doing well. If you're not paying your tithe and you're taking that money and doing something else with it, it appears to you that you may be doing well, and you could come to the conclusion that tithing is antiquated. You could come to that conclusion. Is it possible, Coffee? Is it possible to come to that conclusion that you're doing okay when you're actually not engaging in the system itself, and you could come to the conclusion, yeah, it's antiquated. You don't have to do that anymore. But here's what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. By not engaging the system, you don't know what blessings you have just given up. How could you know? You didn't stay in the system long enough to find out where it can take you. You're satisfied with taking what looks like one or two steps in a positive direction when God wants to take you millions of miles by following his program. I think that's where Coffee Brown was going today, to let us know that there is a way that seems right unto a man. There's a way that seems right unto a man, but the ends there are the ways of death. The end is death when we continue. Listen, if I eat wrong, if I don't get enough sunlight, if I don't get enough exercise, if I do a lot of things that are contrary to good health, I don't die right away. I just get sicker and sicker and sicker and eventually die. But along the way, I could get the impression that, yeah, smoking these cigarettes and eating this pork is it's okay for me because I'm still here. I'm still alive. I'm still smiling. I'm still having fun. Yeah. For now. For now. So thank you very much, everybody, for coming in and making your comments, and for all of you that are online. So here's what I'm talking about. I want to get back to this idea of leveraging other monies to pay off the church faster and cheaper. So if we kept doing this, leveraging the reserve fund, putting it on principal, knowing exactly how much to put on and exactly when. So not only are we, let me just give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Okay. When you, I took that off the screen. I didn't mean to. I want to show you something else. Okay. I showed you return on investment, but what I didn't show you was interest savings per dollar. Here's what I want to do. I want to show you that in just 1 month, if we were to pay the very first month here, let me put my calculator here. All right. We were just to pay the very first month, number one, and then prepay the $2,900 on line 2. If we were just to do that, here's what would happen. We would take the $9,985.75 that we saved. Okay. So $9,985.57. We divide, delete 57 cents. There we go. And divide it by the $2,900.46. Divided by 2,946 cents. Okay, that gives us $3.44. So for every dollar we prepay, okay, if you just put an extra dollar on after the mortgage payment, that would make it impossible for the church to charge you for the bank to charge you $3.44 in interest. Okay. So let me ask you something, ladies and gentlemen. If I gave you $1, if you gave me $1 and I gave you back $3.44, how many times would you do that? If you gave me $1 and I gave you back $3.44, how many times would you do that? Okay. That's exactly what's going on when you prepay on these mortgages. That's why they're so expensive. For every dollar you give them, you're giving them a ton of money in interest where you don't have to. Can I show you just a little bit more math here? Here's what's happening. The payment on this church is $12,886.03. The very first interest payment is $10,000. So we're going to take that. Come on, let's get this over here. We're going to take $10,000. That's the first interest payment. Okay. And divide it by the entire mortgage payment of $12,886.03. We're going to go over that and then we're going to wind down. I need to show you this so you can see what's happening and why we need to do what we need to do. Why does the church need to do what we need to do? All right. We need to do this. So we're going to divide it by 12,000. 886.03 and find out that 78% of the money you're using to pay down this mortgage is going to interest. 78 cents out of every dollar you're giving the bank, that your church is giving the bank. If this is your mortgage, 78 cents out of every dollar is going to interest. 78 cents out of a dollar? What? Yeah, 78 cents out of a dollar. So that means you're paying off your church with 22 cents out of every dollar in the beginning. You give the bank that money. Out of every dollar, 22 cents is paying off the church. 78 cents of every dollar is going to interest. This is why I believe that the Bible talks about usury. And when it's excessive, it keeps people in debt too long. Can anybody tell me, was there a time in the Bible when all debts were forgiven? And how often did that happen? How often were debts forgiven in the Bible? Does anybody know? Can somebody put that in the chat for me? How often were debts forgiven? Can anybody give me an idea of how many years it took to forgive a debt? If you got a loan, I'm looking in the chat. Every 7 years. Every 7 years. So, in fact, debts were, so no matter if somebody borrowed money from you and they're paying you back, after 7 years, the debt was forgiven. After 7 years, the debt was forgiven. In fact, there was a schedule, and it was not 7 years from the time you got the loan. It was a standard 7 years for everyone. In fact, the way that I understand it, the way it was taught to me, is that if you were in the 5th year of the 7-year cycle, some people didn't want to lend you money because they knew in 2 years it'd have to be forgiven. That's the way it's explained to me. I've got to, let me do a little bit more research on it. K.A. Walker says, Don, I will be reaching out soon. I have to get back. All right, great. K.A. Walker, listen, it was good to hear from you today. All right. Sharon M. Jones says every 7 years. That's right. Every 7 years. Okay. And if property was your property, your family property had to be sold or whatever for somebody else, every 50 years, all the property reverted back to the original families. Every 50 years. That's called the year of Jubilee. So why forgive the debt? Why talk about usury? Why talk about interest the way we're talking about it? Because when you have excessive interest, it concentrates the wealth with a very few people. And we're in a system now where we get used to the churches, the businesses, and the individuals pour interest money into the banks. So much so that we don't even bother to see how much. I've got a few minutes left here. Okay. I got a few minutes left here. I want to show you on this screen what we're talking about. I'm going to make the numbers just a little bit bigger. This is why we need interest cancellation. This is why. All right. Click here and make this bigger. There we go. All right. There we go. All right. Every year, this happens. In the first year, $119,000 goes to interest. In the second year, it adds up to $235,000 while the church is paid down by $73,000. Okay, that's already $300,000 paid out. In the third year, $350,000 in interest goes to the banks, while the church is struggling to pay off $113,000 of its debt. It costs $350,000 to do it. In 4 years, 462,000. In 5 years, look at this. 5 years in, we've paid the church off by $200,000, but the bank has received $571,000. That's over $500,000. Okay, how long does it take to get to $1 million? So that's 5 years in. 5 years in. Let's see, 6 years in, 7 years in, 8 years in, 9 years in. After 9 years, the church has paid itself down by $411,000, and they paid out nearly $1 million in interest. $1 million, 979,000. 3 more months. It only takes 3 more months to get to $1 million in interest, while the church has been paid down by only $426,000. Do you see now why? Do you see now why it takes so long? Do you see now why it is important to learn how to leverage the money that you have so that we can pay down these churches faster, more efficiently, and not give $1 million of God's money away to banks who are not going to use it for ministry? Boy, oh boy. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm done for today. I want to thank you very much for coming in. Let's go over. I need you to do some things for me. If you are interested in your church or you as an individual, if you want to pay off your church in 5 to 7 years, you can contact us. If you want to pay off all of your debt that you have personally in about 7 years, here's what you can do. Okay, here's what you can do. We're going to go here. I'm putting ICE 10K on the screen. Okay, that is my digital business card, ice10k.com. What you can do here is scroll down past Eric Thomas, Dr. Eric Thomas's picture, and click on Get a Savings and Earnings Report. Okay, this works for individuals. This also works for churches and businesses. Fill this information out. All right. In fact, if you're a church, go ahead and call the office, and we'll work with you in how to fill this out. It's a little more difficult for a church, so call us. I'm putting it in the comment section. 256-886-1867. That I'm putting that in the comment section, and I'm also putting it in the chat. Okay, on Clubhouse. 256-886-1867. All right. If you are a member of a church and you are on the finance committee, and you are someone that that has been designated to talk to us about your church finances, then call this number. We'll help you to fill out, to get the report, so you can know the month, day, and year your church will be debt-free, and how much interest you can save, and whether or not you'll be able to do this without extra giving from the members. So get your savings and earnings report. Also, ladies and gentlemen, I need your help. So look here, go to ice10k.com, and I got the link above my head here in Clubhouse, and then click on Become an Affiliate. All right, it takes about 15 seconds to become an affiliate, and you can get paid for sharing the YouTube channel with individuals who want to see change in their financial future. If they want to see change in their financial future, then send them to the link that will take them to the YouTube channel, and they can watch the YouTube videos, and then call them back 2 days later and see if they are still interested in wanting to know more. If they are, go back to ice10k.com, scroll down past my picture here, and click on refer a friend and fill out that information. Put in their name, their phone number, their email, their zip code, who referred them. That would be you and your number. You're going to put your name and number in here, and then any additional information, and then click submit. And that way we can then help you do what you need to do. Okay. So let's do that. And then we will, once they become a client, we'll pay you. All right. Here is the second to the last thing I want you to know is this. We have a book. Okay. Get my book. All right. And click that link and it'll take you to where you can get our book. Okay. On Amazon. The book explains why you need to have an idea of prepayment of principal, isolating the principal amount, leverage, and liquidity. It's not an ABC 1, 2, 3. Here's what you do. It explains to you why you need a different idea about your mortgage and other loans. If you were wondering why it takes so long to pay off debt, if you were wondering why anything that you do wasn't really working, this book will explain to you why it's not working and what you need to make it work. All right. The book does a great explanation of giving you insight into what's been happening and what can happen for you in the future, and then gives you the list of tools you need to make it happen for you. All right. Excellent. So get the book. And the last thing I want to talk to you about is next week I'll be doing the fifth installment on with, hold on. Let me get this for you. The fifth installment of Money Answers All Things with the online church Living Manna Ministries. Okay. We are on every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Central, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 Mountain, and 5:30 Pacific time. Those times again, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Mountain, and 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. And we did the fourth installment just last night. Number 5 is going to be next week, where we're going to be going over student loans. So look up Living Manna Ministries on YouTube. Look up Living Manna Ministries on Facebook. Follow them on Facebook or subscribe to their YouTube channel, and you will have access to this information. In fact, you'll be able to see the 4 we've already done for Living Manna. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for today. I want to thank all of you for being here today online. Oh, Sheila, I didn't see you raise your hand. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to overlook you. How you doing?
I'm good. It's no big deal. I'm happy. Friday.
Listen, I got all these screens I'm trying to watch, and I totally missed you raising your hand. So you're always welcome to come to the stage and learn with us. But thank you very much, everybody, for being here today. Sheila, did you have a question or a comment?
No, I just know you like for people.
You are so right. I love it when people come to the stage. Absolutely love it when you come to the stage in Clubhouse. All right, folks, we're going to be back here on Sunday. So
Okay.
come back on Sunday. We're going to have more information with you, but on Sunday, we will be in the Mortgage Syndicate House, instead of the P.I.L.L Method House. So we're going to be over there, and we're going to put up a show for Sunday so that we can learn more about what's going on with these loans. The last thing that we're going to put up today is Dr. Eric Thomas. All right. Let's go back to let's go back to there. Let's take this off the screen. All right. Dr. Eric Thomas is now going to tell us a little bit about what he and his family did using the P.I.L.L method to pay off the debt. And then we'll be done for the day. Thank you so much, everybody. And I hope this information has been fruitful. I hope that what we've told you about how to pay off churches in about 5 years without extra giving from the members, I hope it has made sense. Share this with your finance committees at church. Share this with your pastors. Share this with your treasurers at your church so that they can see that it is possible. It is possible. And they need to contact us to see how it can work specifically for your church to get out of debt and take that money that was going to interest and use it for ministry. Thank you so very much, everybody. And let me see here. And let's see. Sharon says, sharing matters, says, thank you for giving us you. Thank you so much for saying that. That's sweet. I appreciate it. All right. And I've gone over all the questions and we're all set. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're out of here. See you on Sunday. Let's hear from Dr. Eric Thomas right about now and see what he has to say to us.
Listen to me, y'all. But one of his mentees took us through one of their programs, and I paid off my mortgage. But guess what happened? My marriage went to a whole nother level. And you know why? Because my wife is a security freak. And even when I blew up, my wife would be like, oh, you blew up, but how long is you gonna keep making this kind of money? I was like, I don't know, forever. She's like, you sure? Because I'm gonna keep my license as a nurse just in case you don't. So when I paid the house off, my boy was like, you ain't gotta do that, you can do this. But when I paid the house off using that program, it took the stress level all the way down for my wife because we no longer had a mortgage. Does that make sense? That thing that was coming every month, that was getting on her nerves, we didn't have that no more. And so she was at rest.